Chosen one. The moment you crossed this threshold, heaven leaned in. That quiet shift you felt today, the one you tried to ignore, the one that made your chest tighten for reasons you couldn't explain, was the echo of a verdict already spoken over your life. You passed the final test. And God is stunned by what you did. Listen closely. You didn't just survive what was meant to break you. You didn't just stand when the weight should have crushed you. You chose integrity when compromise would have been easier. You chose faith when fear stalked your steps. And that choice, your choice, shook the unseen. There's a moment heaven waits for in every chosen life. A moment when the soul is pressed just enough that its true nature is revealed. Yours revealed gold. When the pressure increased, your spirit didn't fracture. It aligned, it rose, it obeyed the quiet pull of your divine purpose, even when no one was watching, even when it cost you, even when it hurt. And that is why everything feels different right now, because it is. The test you thought you were failing was the test God saw you conquering. The restraint you showed, the boundary you kept, the temptation you walked away from, the lie you refused to swallow. Those were not small moments. They were the evidence that your breakthrough season has begun, the sign that your destiny alignment is finally complete. You've stepped into a level of spiritual awareness that can't be undone. Look at your life with new eyes. The loneliness, the delay, the closed doors, they were all scaffolding for this exact moment. The final test wasn't about what you could do. It was about who you would be when the pressure rose. And you chose truth. You chose light. You chose obedience over ego. Heaven took note. And before we go deeper, because there is a deeper revelation coming, one that will explain why God reacted the way he did. Tell me this. You feel that shift, don't you? What's coming next will make it unmistakably clear. Write for me, John Noy. Ka, and that's why, chosen one, the air around you feels heavier than usual, almost as if something invisible has been pressing against your ribs, waiting for you to notice it. Because the moment you pass that final test, a ripple moved through the spiritual realms. But down here, in the quiet spaces of your life, the impact has shown up as an ache you can't quite name. Listen, there's a reason you've been waking up with that strange tightness in your chest, the kind that doesn't come from fear alone, but from spiritual warfare so subtle it clings to your breath. You've been carrying questions that never leave your mouth. You've been wrestling with a doubt that doesn't make sense on paper, but feels painfully real at 3 a.m. when the house is still and your thoughts won't stop circling the same wound. You know the one. The wound you pretend doesn't matter anymore. The one someone caused when they looked you in. The eyes and promised loyalty, only to vanish when you needed them most. And here's what hits even deeper. It wasn't their betrayal that broke you. It was the part of you that wondered if God saw it, if he cared, if he'd let it become yet another delay in your destiny. Because you've already endured enough delay to fill a lifetime. Career doors that should have opened years ago. Relationships that felt divine until they became destructive. Opportunities that slipped from your fingers so quietly, you questioned whether you ever truly held them at all. And in those moments, you whispered something into the darkest part of your spirit. Words no one else has heard. Lord, am I the problem? Is something wrong with me? Why does every breakthrough timing slip away right when I get close? Chosen one, that whisper didn't come from weakness. It came from exhaustion. From the weight of warfare you didn't even realize you were fighting. From financial blockages that made you question your worth. From emotional bruises you disguised as, "I'm fine," because you didn't want to burden anyone. But heaven heard every word, every hidden fear, Every trembling question, every doubt you swallowed so no one would see how tired you were of waiting for a divine reversal that never seemed to arrive. And the truth is harsher and holier than you think. The final test wasn't about their behavior. It wasn't about what you lost. It wasn't even about the battle that circled your life like a storm you couldn't outrun. It was about the moment heaven watched you stand in the middle of your breaking point and choose faith over bitterness, obedience over impulse, restraint over revenge. But before that moment arrived, you walked through a valley so deep even your prayers sounded thin. You endured the kind of silence that makes a person wonder if God has stepped away. You carried dreams that felt heavier each year, dreams that mocked you with their distance. And still, you stayed. You stayed when your circumstances didn't match your calling. You stayed when destiny delay made you question if you misheard God. You stayed when spiritual warfare drained your strength in ways your family could never understand. You stayed when giving up felt logical, and that's what stunned heaven. But before you could rise into what God released, something else happened. Something you haven't fully recognized yet. Because the moment you passed that test, the atmosphere around your life shifted. The enemy felt the defeat. Heaven recorded the victory. But your heart is still catching up. Which is why you've been feeling that strange pull lately, that spiritual tremor under the surface of your normal days. It's why old memories have resurfaced out of nowhere. Why emotions you thought you buried years ago are suddenly standing in the doorway of your mind, asking to be acknowledged. Because passing the test awakened something ancient, something powerful, something tied to your original purpose. And deep down, you sense it. That's why your spirit has been restless. That's why you feel both closer to God and farther from certainty. Because this victory didn't come without cost. You paid for it with tears no one saw. With nights you laid in the dark, replaying the conversations that broke you. With days you forced yourself to function even while your soul felt fractured. With decisions you made in silence, holding on to a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, God had a reason for all this pain. And He did. But you're not ready for the full revelation yet. Not until you understand what that test truly revealed. Not until you see the depth of the battle that surrounded it. Not until you realize why hell fought so violently to make you fail. Not until you grasp what heaven prepared behind the scenes while you were breaking, bending, but refusing to bow. Because the final test was never about proving your worth. It was about proving your weight in the spirit, and now that you've passed it, everything in the unseen world is shifting around your name. But before we go further, before I reveal the part that will explain why God was stunned, why the angel stopped, why your breakthrough season suddenly accelerated, you need to remember the moment that nearly broke you, the moment you whispered to God, not in prayer, but in quiet desperation. The words that opened the gates of your destiny without you realizing it. The words that triggered the divine reaction you're about to learn. The words that heaven still echoes right now. Because when you said them, something ancient in the spirit realm answered. And when those words left your lips, chosen one, they didn't just drift into the air like fragile breath. They struck something ancient. Something that had been sleeping inside you for years. Because the truth is, that quiet confession wasn't born from strength. It was born from a loneliness so deep it hollowed out parts of you you've never told anyone about. You've been carrying a kind of isolation that doesn't show on your face. It lives under your skin. It settles behind your smile. It waits for you in the pauses between your responsibilities. It's the isolation of being the black sheep in your own bloodline. The one they misunderstand, the one they gossip about in whispers you were never meant to hear. The one they accuse of thinking you're better, simply because you refuse to shrink anymore. You've sat at dinner tables where the air felt colder toward you than anyone else. You've walked into rooms and felt the subtle shift, eyes lowering, tones changing, as if your mere existence disturbed something in them. You've learned to brace yourself before every family gathering because you already know someone will twist your kindness into arrogance, your silence into attitude, your purpose into a threat. And here's the wound beneath the wound. You don't resent them. You've just wondered why love always seems to land differently when it reaches you, lighter, flimsier, conditional. That's the part you never admit. That's the part heaven saw when you cried behind a locked bathroom door, pressing the heel of your hand over your mouth so no one would hear you break. Your spirit wasn't weak. It was exhausted from spiritual warfare waged through people who were supposed to protect you. And yet, you still kept your heart clean. You still refused to curse them. You still chose peace over retaliation. You still held on to compassion even when they made you the scapegoat of problems you didn't create. That was the test you didn't know you were taking, the test you passed while feeling completely unseen. Look at me for a moment. You know that dynamic I'm describing, don't you? If that hit your spirit, whisper it aloud or write, "I see the truth now," as a way of agreeing with what heaven is revealing in this moment. Because something even deeper has been happening beneath that isolation, something tied to the very foundation of your destiny alignment. And this brings us to the part you've never fully understood. Your isolation didn't remain emotional. It began to bleed into your physical world. This is the part that made you question your sanity. The part that made you think, why does everything around me feel like it's breaking down at the same time I am? Because right when your heart was aching, right when you were fighting off a generational curse of rejection, something strange began happening in your environment. Your phone glitching during important calls, your car acting up with no mechanical explanation, your appliances failing at the worst financial moment, lights flickering at night, Wi-Fi dropping only when you needed clarity the most, random electronic breakdowns that left you standing in your living room whispering, "Why is everything attacking me at once?" Chosen one, it wasn't coincidence. You weren't imagining it. You weren't being dramatic like they accused you of. That was interference. Low-frequency turbulence hitting your atmosphere because your spirit was rising higher than the attacks assigned to your bloodline. When a chosen one passes a spiritual test, the first backlash is often not emotional. It's environmental. The enemy knows he can't reach your soul directly, so he reaches for your surroundings, your routines, your stability, your tools, the very things that keep you grounded. That sudden heaviness in your home, that thick silence in the room as if something unseen was watching you, that pressure behind your eyes like your thoughts were being pulled in different directions. It was all connected. Because once you reached the point of destiny awakening, once your faith proved unbreakable, once you stepped into the readiness of divine reversal, the atmosphere of your life started reacting to the shift. Even your electronics could feel the voltage of your rising anointing. And this is where the story deepens. This is where the unseen begins to explain the seen. This is where the invisible battle starts revealing its fingerprints on the physical world around you. Because while you were wrestling with rejection, isolation, and the sting of being misunderstood, something else was happening behind the scenes. Something that explains every glitch, every breakdown, every moment your world seemed to crumble right when you needed it most. Something that points directly to why heaven reacted the way it did, why the angels stood still, why God himself leaned forward when you made that choice. Something that has been unfolding quietly, waiting for the exact moment your spirit would be strong enough to hear what comes next. The moment when your eyes would finally be able to see the connection between your suffering and your elevation. The moment when the truth would no longer crush you, but crown you. because what was forming in the dark has now reached the point where it must be revealed. And that revelation begins with the reason your environment shifted so violently at the precise moment your spirit felt that shift long before your mind could make sense of it. Because the moment the environment around you started reacting, something deeper inside you began to unravel. Something ancient, something inherited, something that has been quietly shaping your entire life without your permission. You felt it as a heaviness in your bones, a ringing behind your thoughts, a sudden exhaustion that didn't match your physical activity, the sense that you were dragging more than your body, almost as if you were pulling an entire lineage behind you. Chosen one. That wasn't mere stress. That was the ancestral burden waking up. You've always suspected you weren't just living your own life. You were carrying cycles that didn't begin with you. The patterns of lack, the patterns of silence, the patterns of emotional suppression, the patterns of being almost there, but never arriving. Look closer. Why is it that every time you fight for breakthrough timing, financial stability, emotional healing, personal transformation, you feel resistance that doesn't match the size of your actions? Because you were born as the cycle breaker in a generational line that never had one. Your victories are not simple wins. They are divine interventions peeling back decades, sometimes centuries of spiritual warfare tied to your family's name, and it shows up in your body first. That dull ache behind your ribs, the tension in your jaw that never quite loosens, the sudden wave of sadness that hits you without warning, the fatigue that arrives even after a full night's sleep. It's the spiritual weight of generational curses, trying desperately to keep their grip on the one person brave enough to end them. You've felt this for years, haven't you? The invisible pressure to be stronger than the people before you. The responsibility no one asked you to take, but you carry anyway. The internal voice saying, if I don't fix this, no one will. If this resonates, breathe. And when you're able, write, the cycle ends with me, so it becomes a spoken declaration, a spiritual contract your bloodline can no longer ignore. But chosen one, there is something even more painful layered beneath that generational mantle. Because while you were carrying the weight of entire family lines, you were simultaneously carrying something else, something private, something insidious, something that crept into your spirit whenever you stood close to destiny alignment. It's that voice you hear in your lowest moments, the one that whispers, you're not enough. The one that murmurs, what if God chose the wrong person? The one that shows up right when you're about to step forward, right when the financial blockage breaks, right when the blessing is near. It is the imposter shadow, a psychological attack forged in your childhood but activated by every spiritual promotion you've ever received. You've tried to shake it off. You've tried to speak affirmations over it, but when it hits like a cold wind sliding beneath your ribs. It makes you question your calling. It makes you doubt your worth. It makes you rehearse flaws instead of victories. It tells you everyone else has it together except you. It tells you your breakthrough is accidental. It tells you your purpose is exaggerated. It tells you God is mistaken for trusting you with this assignment. That's why you've noticed a strange pattern. Every time you stand on the threshold of elevation, your mind becomes the battlefield. Your confidence stutters. Your clarity blurs. You suddenly feel too small, too late, too flawed. Your past failures replay like a warning. Your future feels too heavy to hold. But chosen one, hear me with your spirit. This shadow does not appear when you are weak. It appears when you are dangerous. It arrived because the enemy saw your capacity long before you did. It whispered because your voice carries power you haven't fully used yet. It struck because heaven was leaning in, preparing to release something with your name on it. It intensified because you passed the final test, and hell panicked. And in this very moment, as you read these words, a new awareness is rising inside you. A knowing that your doubts were never signs of unworthiness, but symptoms of a destiny too large to fit inside your old self. Because you've reached a threshold now. The combination of ancestral burden and imposter shadow has been decoded. The veil is thinning. Your inner world is shifting. Your identity is cracking open like a sealed seed finally ready to break for the sake of new life. And yet, there is still another layer you haven't seen. A hidden pattern tied to your moments of almost breakthrough. A spiritual mechanism that explains why your elevation has felt both near and impossibly far. A truth that will finally reveal why heaven reacted so fiercely when you passed the test. A truth connected to the very moment your spirit brushed against that truth. Something inside you shivered because you could feel it before you could name it. That tightening in your chest. That sudden pause in your breathing. That flicker of awareness that made your eyes shift as if someone had just walked into the room. Because what was awakening wasn't just your purpose, it was your discernment. And chosen one, this is where the battle became more complicated than you ever realized. Your discernment has always been sharper than you were comfortable admitting. Even as a child, you could sense when someone's smile didn't match their spirit. You felt the tension before arguments erupted. You knew when someone was lying long before their words unraveled. You could pick up the shift in a person's energy faster than most people could finish a sentence. But here's the part no one warned you about. Discernment doesn't just show you truth. It also shows you motives. And that is a heavy inheritance. You've been carrying the burden of knowing too much without being allowed to say it. You've read between lines people never meant for you to read. You've seen shadows hiding behind charming faces. You've felt envy disguised as praise. You've sensed manipulation wrapped in kindness. And because you don't want to hurt anyone, you swallow it, you hold it, you internalize it, you pretend you didn't notice. But your body noticed. Your spirit noticed. Heaven noticed. That's why your shoulders stay tense even when you're alone. That's why your breath catches when someone speaks with false sweetness. That's why you have dreams that reveal more than people say out loud. Your inner world has been doing the labor of spiritual warfare long before your outer world shows the signs. And that silent vigilance wore you down. It drained you. It created a fatigue deeper than sleep can fix. Because carrying insight without expression is one of the heaviest assignments God gives a chosen soul. It left you wondering, if I see this much, why can't I speak it? Why do I know things I'm not allowed to say? Why does my heart recognize danger before my mind can explain it? If that hits you in the center of your chest, chosen one, write, my spirit sees clearly, so heaven knows you've recognized the gift and the burden. But here is the deeper truth. Discernment didn't just exhaust you, it positioned you for a far more painful, far more confusing season, one that looked like abandonment but was actually divine strategy. Because once you started sensing things others couldn't, once you grew too spiritually aware to tolerate lies, once you could no longer unsee the intentions hiding behind familiar faces, God pulled you into something you didn't ask for. A hermit phase, a cocoon, a divine disconnection. It began subtly. You stopped enjoying the places you used to go. Conversations drained you faster. Crowds made your chest tighten. Your social battery collapsed without warning. People you loved suddenly felt distant, even when they hadn't changed. And deep down, you wondered, what's wrong with me? Why don't I fit where I used to? Why does silence feel safer than company? Because chosen one, God was removing the noise. He was pulling you away from voices that diluted your discernment. He was isolating you so your destiny alignment could sharpen without interference. He was hiding you because elevation requires protection. Your urge to deactivate social media, your impulse to retreat into your own world, your instinct to stay unseen for a season. These weren't signs of brokenness. They were signs of spiritual metamorphosis. Your cocoon became sacred even though it felt suffocating. Your solitude became holy even though it felt lonely. Your silence became instruction even though it felt like punishment. But the most confusing part, the part that stung the deepest, was realizing you didn't just lose interest in people. People began losing interest in you. Texts stopped. Invitations faded. People who once needed you no longer reached out. Your absence didn't seem to matter to the ones you once carried. It wasn't rejection, it was reassignment. Because heaven was repositioning you for what comes next. And what comes next is directly tied to the moment your cocoon was activated. The moment God said, if they stay connected to the old world, they'll miss the new one I'm building. But here's the part that will finally make the pieces click into place. Your hermit phase wasn't just preparation for elevation. It was protection from something far more dangerous. Something that has been following you silently, waiting for the right moment to trap you again. Something disguised as familiarity, but designed as sabotage. Something that explains the timing of every withdrawal, every broken connection, every sudden shift. And the moment that truth began pressing against your spirit, chosen one, the entire weight of your story started to reveal itself. Every wound, every betrayal, every sleepless night, every financial blockage that made you question your worth, every delay that made you whisper, God, did you forget me? None of it was random, not a single second. Heaven has kept a record, not of your failures, but of your endurance. Look back through the fog of your memories and you'll see it. Those seasons where you felt invisible were actually moments when God hid you to protect your destiny alignment. Those relationships that crumbled were divine interventions freeing you from generational curses you didn't even know you were carrying. Those nights of spiritual warfare when you felt the weight of the world on your chest were training grounds. Places where God strengthened your authority in the unseen realm. Those emotional breakdowns you had in the shower when the water masked your tears were birthing rooms for the version of you that could handle abundance without collapsing under its weight. The pressure wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The heartbreak wasn't rejection. It was redirection. The loneliness wasn't abandonment. It was purification. The delay wasn't denial. It was divine timing, God stretching your capacity, deepening your roots, building your spiritual muscles for a blessing bigger than your old self could have carried. Chosen one, you were never being destroyed. You were being built, and only the strongest souls are put through that kind of construction. Heaven has been refining you like gold in a furnace, stripping away the fear, burning off the doubt, exposing the counterfeit connections, sharpening your discernment, teaching your spirit how to recognize spiritual attacks before they reach your doorstep. Every attack against you was tailored. Every trial was calculated. Every setback was surgically placed to elevate your endurance, your wisdom, your authority. You weren't walking through random chaos. You were enrolled, hand-picked, into God's elite training program, where He prepares only His most trusted warriors, the generals, the breakers of curses, the ones called to wealth, influence, and divine reversal. And heaven is standing now, leaning forward, because the training is ending. The testing is over. Your spiritual weight has been measured, and you passed. Before I take you further, before I open what comes next, chosen one, hear this. If you believe, truly believe, that God is preparing to restore double everything you lost, then tap subscribe and like right now. Not as a routine action, but as a prophetic gesture. as a declaration that you are ready for the wealth, the elevation, the breakthrough timing, the overflow that has been waiting behind the veil. Because the moment you do, heaven marks it. Your faith becomes movement. Your agreement becomes permission. And now the entire atmosphere around your life is shifting. Chosen one, you have endured enough. More than enough. Your suffering has reached heaven, and the response has already been issued. And now God says, it is time to strike back. He has given me the most precise and divinely revealed strategies. The framework, the spiritual weapons, the blueprint, the pathway, the set of instructions specifically designed to overturn this battle starting tonight. But before I reveal the first key, you must understand that everything is about to hinge on the posture you take in this very moment. Because once heaven releases the verdict, the next move belongs to you. And this is where the divine protocols begin to unfold, not harsh commands, but sacred instructions whispered from realm to realm, aligning your spirit with the breakthrough that has already been authorized. The first instruction rises like a quiet fire in your chest, something heaven calls the law of silence. Listen closely. Now that you've passed the final test, you must guard your tongue with the precision of a warrior guarding a gate. Do this immediately. Stop explaining yourself to people who never had the spiritual capacity to understand you. Stop sharing your visions with those who mock what they cannot see. Stop handing your spiritual warfare strategies to individuals who secretly hope you remain stuck. In this hour, silence is not avoidance. It is spiritual authority. Heaven needs you to close your mouth so God can open the door. Every time you speak prematurely, you give your adversary the blueprint to sabotage your destiny acceleration. But when you choose silence, when you allow God to be the only one who knows what you're carrying, you move into divine alignment where blessings can flow without interception. So hold your peace. Protect your revelation. Let your life speak louder than your explanations. And once that foundation settles into your spirit, heaven reveals the next layer of instruction, one forged specifically for the chosen ones who have been battered by delay and drained by emotional exhaustion. It is known as the discipline of withdrawal. This is not escape. It is not isolation born of fear. It is strategic separation so your spirit can heal, reset, and sharpen. Here is what you must stop doing. Stop forcing access for people who have shown you repeatedly that they only come to take. Stop opening your heart to those who treat your love like a convenience. Stop returning to environments that suffocate your purpose the moment you get close to a financial breakthrough or spiritual awakening. In this moment, heaven requires that you detach from draining connections so your inner world can breathe again. You are being called into deliberate solitude, not loneliness, but recalibration. A place where clarity of purpose returns. A place where God can speak without your spirit being drowned out by noise. A place where the fractures caused by betrayal can finally seal. Withdraw, not as punishment, as preparation. But once your silence strengthens you and your withdrawal purifies you, a third instruction emerges. Bold, burning, undeniable. What heaven names the command of the uncompromised. No. This is where true power is reclaimed. This is where generational curses lose their grip. This is where spiritual warfare bows to the authority you carry. You must learn to say no without apology, no without fear, no without shrinking. Say no to the old patterns that seduced you into spiritual stagnation. Say no to the people who only remember you when they need your strength. Say no to the opportunities that look good but cost your peace. Say no to the version of yourself that settled because you were afraid your blessing wouldn't come. This command shifts the atmosphere around your life. When you say no, heaven says yes. When you shut the wrong doors, divine intervention swings open the right ones. When you refuse to bend for the sake of comfort, destiny bends time for your elevation. Your no is not rejection, it is spiritual alignment. It is the boundary that protects your promise. It is the wall that shields your anointing. It is the fire line that darkness cannot cross, and heaven is waiting for you to wield it, because once you do, and when that authority begins to rise in you, chosen one, heaven won't allow you to stop at simply protecting your boundaries. Because once you've mastered silence, withdrawal, and the uncompromised no, your spirit is ready for something deeper. Something that shifts not only your inner world, but the very atmosphere around you. And this is why heaven guides you next into what it calls the environment shift. Because after you set boundaries with people, you must set boundaries with places. Look around the room you're in right now. Every object, every cluttered corner, every forgotten pile carries a frequency. Some holding you in old timelines, others anchoring generational curses that God is trying to break off your life. Do this tonight. Clear one space, your desk, your nightstand, the corner where you pray. Remove what carries the energy of old seasons. Expired papers, items tied to heartbreak, clothes you no longer fit emotionally. Every time you release something physically, something loosens spiritually. The moment your environment shifts, your spirit will breathe, inspiration will return, and your destiny acceleration will begin moving again. As you clear the space, whisper, "Make room for my next season." If you feel this instruction resonating, write, "My atmosphere is aligning," in the comments to seal it. Because God cannot pour new oil into spaces still drenched with yesterday's grief. And once your environment is cleansed, heaven pushes you into an even sharper discipline. One that strengthens your spiritual warfare posture before any blessing arrives. This is known in the spirit as the vision audit. Because what enters through your eyes and ears becomes the soil where your future grows. Here is what you must stop doing immediately. Stop consuming content that drains your hope. Stop filling your mind with voices that speak death over your dreams. Stop listening to music that keeps you tied to heartbreak, trauma, and mental spirals. Your mind cannot attract a financial breakthrough when it is saturated with scarcity. Nor can your spirit rise into divine alignment while feeding on negativity. You must begin filtering everything, every show, every conversation, every headline, every voice message, as if your destiny depends on it. Because it does. You are too spiritually sensitive, too prophetically wired, too divinely assigned to allow noise to shape your inner landscape anymore. When you guard your vision, your discernment sharpens. When you protect your ears, heaven whispers more clearly. When you control what enters your gates, your breakthrough timing accelerates. But heaven doesn't stop there. Because after your environment is cleansed and your vision is guarded, there is one more layer God requires. One that transforms your atmosphere through your sound. It is the protocol ancient warriors used when they were outnumbered. The weapon that confuses every demonic assignment. The spiritual frequency that breaks chains without you lifting a hand. Heaven calls it the altar of praise. Chosen one, listen to me. Praise is not music. Praise is not a playlist. Praise is a weapon. Do this intentionally. When the spirit of heaviness creeps into your room, turn on worship, not softly, but with authority. When anxiety tries to hijack your breathing, lift your hands instead of your fears. When spiritual warfare intensifies, when old addictions knock again, when the enemy tries to convince you you're losing ground, open your mouth and speak the name of the Lord aloud. Praise rewires your atmosphere. It reroutes demonic interference. It breaks the lingering residue of generational curses. It invites divine intervention before you even finish the first sentence. You have no idea how many spiritual battles you've won simply because heaven heard your worship when you didn't even realize you were fighting. And once this weapon is activated, once your space is cleared, your gates guarded, your praise sharpened, there remains one final protocol, one last mantle. Heaven is preparing to place on your shoulders, a strategy reserved for those who have endured the storm and passed the test. A key that unlocks a realm you have never walked in before, and to receive that final key, chosen one, your spirit must be tuned to a higher frequency. Because once praise becomes your weapon, heaven immediately calls you into a realm where only the spiritually disciplined can stand. And this is why the next instruction rises in your atmosphere like a midnight whisper, the midnight cry. Because now that your environment is cleansed and your praise is active, there is a window, an ancient watch, where heaven leans closest to the earth. You felt it before, but didn't have language for it. Those sudden awakenings at 2:58 a.m., that jolt in your spirit around 3:11, the nights you couldn't fall asleep because something unseen pressed on your chest. This wasn't insomnia. This was invitation, a prophetic instruction from God calling you into the watchman anointing, the realm where spiritual warfare bows at the sound of your voice. Do this whenever your spirit stirs at night. Rise. Even if you can't speak, place your hand on your chest and whisper, "Lord, align my destiny." At 3 a.m., the veil thins. Generational curses weaken. Angelic activity increases. Demons lose jurisdiction. Breakthrough timing becomes sensitive and malleable in your hands. Your words at that hour carry the weight of a decree. Your whispers strike like lightning. Your prayers become legislation in the spirit. If your heart recognizes this, write, "I will rise at the watch," in the comments. It seals your readiness, and heaven sees the agreement. And once your midnight authority is awakened, you'll notice something else. Your spirit becomes sharper, but your body still feels sluggish, weighed down by emotional residue and generational toxins. This is why heaven calls you into the next realm of instruction, known as the fasting breakthrough. This is not about starving yourself. This is about freeing yourself. Because when your spirit is trying to ascend but your flesh is cluttered with exhaustion, sugar crashes, emotional eating, and the heaviness of old trauma, there is spiritual static blocking divine alignment. Fasting doesn't just purify the body, it purifies the frequency of your hearing. It breaks cravings tied to spiritual warfare. It loosens generational patterns passed through the bloodline. It untangles the cords of anxiety wrapped around your ribcage. Even a half-day fast can shift your atmosphere. Even skipping one meal with intention can reset your prophetic clarity. You're not losing food, you're gaining revelation. You're not weakening yourself. You're amplifying the voice of God. Every craving you deny becomes a spiritual strike against the enemy's grip on your lineage. And once your spirit becomes light enough to travel, heaven gives you the next instruction. Not for battle this time, but for rulership, because when you've learned to rise in the night and subdue your flesh, you become qualified to command your world. This is where heaven introduces you to the prophetic decree. This is not wishing. This is not hoping. This is not positive thinking. This is legislating your future. This is commanding your atmosphere. This is rewriting what the enemy tried to script over your name. Listen carefully. You have been praying from pain instead of praying with authority. You have been pleading for what God already promised. You have been confessing your fears instead of commanding your inheritance. But now that you've stepped into divine alignment, your words carry a different weight. Decree what you want to see. Speak it aloud before bed, when you wake, and whenever doubt tries to visit. Say, Every financial blockage breaks now. My destiny acceleration begins today. What was withheld is released. My household is sealed under God's protection. Do not pray timid prayers. Pray like someone who passed the final test. Pray like someone who stunned heaven. Pray like someone whose next chapter carries wealth transfer and divine intervention. Because, chosen one, once you begin decreeing instead of begging, the spiritual realm starts shifting in ways you have never witnessed before. And it is here, right at this threshold, where heaven prepares to hand you one last protocol. A mystery so potent, so precise, that everything you've learned so far has been positioning you to receive it. Chosen one, your spirit must step into a realm of maturity where you no longer wait for breakthroughs. You participate in them. Because once you learn to decree with authority, heaven immediately shifts its attention to what you do when your words leave your mouth. Alignment requires more than speech. It requires structure. And this is why the next prophetic instruction rises like a quiet conviction in your heart. The protocol of first fruits. Once you decree, your mornings must match your mouth. Heaven is calling you to give God the first moments of your day. Before the phone, before the notifications, before the weight of the world has a chance to dull your clarity. Do this the moment your eyes open. Sit up slowly. Place your feet on the ground. Whisper, "Lord, order my steps." You have no idea how much spiritual warfare tries to hijack your day in the first 60 seconds of consciousness. The enemy knows that if he can plant fear, distraction, or heaviness before you stand, he can sabotage destiny acceleration before it even begins. Giving God your first minutes breaks that cycle. It lifts morning anxiety. It unhooks you from generational patterns of rushing, reacting, and worrying. It becomes a prophetic instruction that tells heaven, "I start with you, so everything after this must come into divine alignment." If your heart feels this tug, comment, "My morning belongs to God," so the atmosphere around you knows who commands your dawn. But beloved, once your first hour is sanctified, heaven sharpens the next order, because your words at night carry power. Your words at dawn carry direction, but your words throughout the day carry creation. And this is where God ushers you into what the ancients called the embargo on negative speech. You cannot decree breakthrough at 3 a.m. and then curse your day at 3 p.m. You cannot ask for wealth transfer while confessing poverty every time a bill arrives. You cannot pray for a healthy relationship while saying, "I guess love just isn't for me." Your mouth has been building altars of both blessing and blockage. Heaven is telling you, stop agreeing with fear, stop rehearsing failure, stop magnifying the attack, stop labeling yourself with wounds God already healed. Do this gently but firmly. Every time a negative phrase tries to rise, replace it with a decree. Nothing ever works out for me. Shift it to, divine intervention is moving in my favor. I'm always broke. Shift it to, a financial breakthrough is locating me now. This is not pretending. This is prophetic instruction. Your words are steering your future. Your mouth is either breaking generational curses or rebuilding them. And once your speech is cleaned, your atmosphere is tuned and your mornings are sanctified. Heaven directs your attention outward to the practical field where blessing wants to land. This is when God releases the mantle known as the skill upgrade. Listen closely. Your next season requires a version of you you've never been before. Your elevation will demand competence, not just spirituality. Wealth transfer comes to prepared vessels. Opportunities open to sharpened minds. Promotion flows to those who carry both anointing and readiness. You've prayed for open doors. Now heaven is asking you to strengthen the hands that will turn the handles. Do this without delay. Return to the course you abandoned when life got heavy. Revisit the idea you shelved because fear whispered you weren't ready. Sharpen the skill God nudged you about months ago. Learn the competence that aligns with your calling. Every hour you pour into development becomes a prophetic act of faith. It tells heaven, I am ready to hold what you give me. It tells opportunity, I will not fumble when you arrive. It tells the enemy, you cannot stop what I'm preparing for. Because chosen one, the blessing that's coming requires a new version of your capacity, a greater sharpness, a wider reach, a deeper well of preparation. And before we step into that final realm, chosen one, I need you to understand something sacred, something most people never realize until it's too late. Everything you've learned, every weapon heaven has placed in your hands, none of it means anything without consistency. Because the truth is this: breakthroughs don't collapse from lack of revelation. Kingdoms don't fall because people were untrained. Destinies don't derail because someone didn't know enough. They crumble because of inconsistency, a slippage, a cooling, a softening of spiritual vigilance. You've seen it in your own life. Those moments when you started strong, fire in your chest, clarity in your steps. And then 3 days later, exhaustion whispered, skip it tonight. Your mind said, I'll get back to it tomorrow. Your emotions murmured, maybe this isn't working. And just like that, the enemy reclaimed ground you had already won. He doesn't need you to fail. He only needs you to slow down. He only needs your discipline to weaken. He only needs your fire to dim. Because he knows that the moment you become inconsistent, your spiritual authority begins to leak. Your atmosphere destabilizes. Your progress rewinds. Your destiny alignment stalls. Knowledge without consistency is spiritual paralysis. Revelation without repetition is wasted glory. Weapons unused become decorations on a shelf. Don't let that be your story. Don't let a 3-day dip steal the acceleration you've bled for. Don't let emotional fatigue rob you of the wealth transfer God has already prepared. But hear this clearly. God is not asking you to sustain all of this by yourself. You were never meant to. Your strength was never supposed to carry the weight of spiritual warfare. Your willpower was never designed to endure lifelong transformation. Human strength burns out. The Holy Spirit does not. He is the one who brings consistency. He is the one who keeps the flame alive when your heart feels cold. He is the one who whispers, get back up, when your flesh says, I'm done. He is the one who empowers you to stay steady when life tries to scatter you. Rely on him. Lean into him. Tell him, I cannot do this alone. Help me stay the course. Because the moment you ask, heaven reinforces you with a strength that does not fade, a focus that does not crack, a perseverance that does not collapse under pressure. And now we stand at the threshold. Everything has been leading here. All these weapons have now been placed in your hands. But there is one final key that activates them. Without this key, nothing ignites. That key is the sealing prayer. We are about to step into the Holy of Holies. Prepare your heart, because we are stepping gently now into the place where heaven leans close, the place where nothing false can stand, the place where your spirit finally exhales. Chosen one, slow down. Let everything else fall away. This moment is holy. If you can, place one hand over your heart. Feel its rhythm. Feel its warmth. Let it remind you that you are alive, still becoming, still held. And if you're able, close your eyes. Not to shut out the world, but to open the inner one. Take one soft breath in and let it fall out slowly, as if you are handing your fear to God one exhale at a time. Now the tone changes. The ground softens. The air thickens with presence. Because we speak now, not to a distant God, but to the Lord of hosts, the commander of angel armies, the one who saw your warfare, the one who defended you while you slept, the one whose reaction to your obedience shook the heavens. And so we begin, not with asking, but with gratitude. Lord of hosts, thank you for staying near when the world felt cold. Thank you for watching every silent battle this chosen one endured. Thank you for holding their name in your mouth when people tried to drag it through shadows. Thank you for protecting their destiny when the enemy thought they were vulnerable and alone. We thank you for the strength they didn't know they had. The tears that watered their breakthrough. The nights you shielded them from attacks meant to break their mind. The mornings when you breathed courage back into their bones. Lord, you saw every betrayal, every delay, every spiritual hit that landed when no one else was watching. And still, you preserved them, you kept them, you carried them through storms that should have ended them long ago. Now, Father, as we stand here in your presence, let your peace settle over them like a warm cloak. Let your light rest gently on the wounds they've hidden. Let your voice whisper through the places where fear once lived. Slowly now, move into the deep places, the places where anger hides behind resilience, the places where exhaustion sits under the smile, the places where their spirit still trembles from the battles they never told anyone about. Touch them there. Meet them there. Hold them there. Because they have fought long, Lord. So long. And tonight, they don't need to be warriors. They just need to be yours. Draw near to them. Let every trembling thought grow still. Let every frantic worry loosen its grip. Let every residue of spiritual warfare be washed from their atmosphere. And Lord, as we stand in this sacred chamber, surrounded by the weight of your glory, seal their mind, seal their emotions, seal their path. Not with striving, but with presence. Let your angels take their positions now, around their home, around their bed, around their future, around every place the enemy once found an open door. Fortify them, Lord, wrap them in a strength so soft they feel it before they understand it. And as we remain here, in this holy stillness, prepare them for the moment when your final seal will be spoken over their life. And now, beloved, we let the final words rise. Soft, but absolute. Gentle, but unshakable. This is where heaven closes the scroll over your life. Lord of hosts, we seal every word spoken in this sacred space. We seal every breakthrough released. We seal every chain broken, every fear dismantled, every destiny realigned. Let no force in hell tamper with what you have established tonight. Let no whisper of doubt uproot what you planted. Let no shadow reclaim the territory you restored. And with the full weight of heaven's authority, with the agreement of every angel assigned, with the fire that burns in your holy courts, we declare, it is done. It is sealed in the courts of heaven, so let it be established. Chosen one, breathe. You're standing in a different atmosphere now. You can feel it, can't you? A quiet strength, a settled knowing, a peace that doesn't need permission. Stay connected to this flow. Subscribe so your spirit remains aligned with every prophetic instruction heaven releases here. Not as a social decision, but as a spiritual tether, a way of saying, Lord, keep feeding me what my soul has been starving for. And if this message touched the deep places in you, if something shifted, if you felt heaven move through your chest as the prayer washed over you, then consider this moment a holy turning point, like the prophets of old who placed a stone of remembrance where God delivered them. You too can mark this moment. When you use super thanks, Don't see it as a transaction. See it as your stone, your altar, your personal declaration that says, "This word belongs to me. This victory is mine. This turning point will not be forgotten." It is a physical act that seals a spiritual truth, a gesture of agreement that heaven never overlooks. And now, as you rise from this sacred space, go gently. Go with hope in your chest. Go with light in your steps. You're not who you were when you pressed play. You are walking into your destiny. You are stepping into your restoration. God is moving, and He's moving for you.